5 o'clock hours here. Cofield and Company. Jeff Parles is the company. It's Cofield. James is in our Finley Toyota studios. Busy week of college basketball coming up. We'll hit that for a couple of minutes here with Mountain West and some national stories and UNLV. UNLV football schedule is released. So now we have the non-con and the conference games. No start times yet. And also, I'll get into the other details. Caleb Herring's going to join us in about 30 minutes. A lot of Max Crosby recap. I know people have been through it over the weekend, but a lot has happened since with free agency, and I want to go over some of the reaction from Friday through the weekend because it was very emotional. A lot of people, Cofield Company, get emotional. I scream and yell and I get mad about stuff, but with that and coaches, I don't get emotional. I realize what this is. I'm 55 years old. I'm not going to be here because someone demands a trade from an organization and then gets traded. It's just not the. I'm dead inside, my
You're
friend.
Solo.
I'll say, I guess on my beats, there's a few players that you're sad to see go.
Sure,
but people are on the move so much. For UNLV football, what am I going to get all upset that Anthony Blaney is gone? That's the college football is. He stayed if he goes because we're going to get to Dre Gibbs, Lawhorn, and what's going to happen with UNLV basketball in a little bit. UNLV football news coming up in 5. Let me get back to UNLV basketball for a second.
Sure.
So they play Diego State. They wound up losing 89-86. They had a chance for a 3 at the end. And as I pointed out in the first hour, nothing wrong with the team 16-15 and 11 in conference with looking at that Diego State game and going, you know what? That was good enough. That could have been a win. And I preface that by saying, watch the game on. Thought to myself, this is one of the first times in the last 10 years that I felt like UNLV came in and San Diego State in front of 12,100, whatever it is, around those speakers I described VAs. Their crowd loud, system louder. That's what a lot of schools have done to kind of amp it up to a new level. Like Boise State by San Diego State was called Extra Quiet Arena. The next game, this was a couple of years ago. Next game, UNLV goes in and it was like, boom! The responder like, okay, if the fans are going to we're up. Colorado State's unbelievable. I didn't get the Canyon, but I heard Grand Canyon was like, it was just booming. Thomas and Mac probably, we'll have to get into the dynamics of that thing. Smaller crowds, some upgrades, take it a little loud. But anyway, you watch 12,000 fans. The students still show up in pretty good numbers. The show, it gets really loud. It's one of those places where the court feels good when things are wrong. You are running up, and that term in college basketball, the pick six, right? A steal somewhere, outside the 3-point line or from the backcourt, right? On offense, outside the 3-point line, backcourt, you can't have those. Pick six, layup, dunk, go the other way. Oh my God, the place explodes. The roof blows off the place. And I felt like for the last 10 years, LV would walk in there and they're like, okay, let's try to stay in the game. Let's make a good job. And these guys went in there and chest out, as they've done in almost every road spot. Because they went to Utah State and they were like, oh, you're going to yell at us? You're going to say things that ACLs on us or tell our coach to get off the court or, mock on DGL's hairline? Okay. Well, here it is right back in your face. And Dre Gibbs Lawhorn came out and hit 3 threes in the first couple of minutes. I think Howie Fleming had a 3. They went up 19-11, and the place did quiet down a little bit. But my hope was they went there with an attitude. Yeah, we're good. And that hasn't happened enough the last 10 years, and that has to happen moving forward. Now, they're only going to play San Diego State once a year, Jeff. We know for at least the next 2 years that only member of the disloyal 5, Utah State, Fresno State, Colorado State, Boise State, that is going to sound the UNLV schedule. Josh Pastner doesn't want to play any of the others. He doesn't want to go there. He doesn't see, I'm not going to put words in. I don't see a bet to playing smaller name schools. Right now, they're better programs. But smaller name schools nationally, like Utah State and Boise Road, there's no purpose. Go and lose to freaking scrub in the middle of the Big East, better off. Now, do I think the middle of the Big East is better than the top half of the Mountain West? No. Big East sucks this year. But there's a value in making sure that you get to the Midwest, the South, the Northeast. So they're at the San Diego State. So they go in there, they play a competitive game. Now, at the end of the game, Josh Pastner said, as Dre Gibbs Longhorn came to the top of the key, he actually wanted to go right to the hole, get a quick 2. It didn't work. And then there was no pick set. And on top of that, Kamani Hamilton brought his defender over.
Yeah.
So then it muddled the area. It's like, bro, if you're going to come over, it's second screen. Now, do I want Kamani to pop off the screen? No, but it's better than DGL got crowded. He got no man's land, was kind of turned sideways, and then had to go up, got it stripped, and then leaned in to try to get the 3-point and getting that on the road. No, and UNLV made some bonehead plays. Like Kamani Hamilton he's defending Reese, whatever his name is, Dixon Waters, in the corner, and Dixon Waters kind of swims through with the ball. He's behind the 3-point line, and Kamani's hand is out, and Kamani pulls the hand out of the cookie jar. Okay, don't put your hand out again. Swings through, jump, foul. 3 shots. Come on. We talked about slobs in the first hour. Sideline, out of bounds plays, right? They converted on 4 of those. One was an alley-oop to Magoon Guath. About 10 or 12 points that they could have had on the board where they got up pretty easily. They played a hell of a game. Played a great offensive game. Played with a lot of attitude. So I like where they are going into the Mountain West Conference tournament. But the last couple of things on San Diego State that's interesting. One, sitting courtside. I look across, and there he is, one of UNLV's proudest. Guy Fieri. Courtside. UNLV guy. In fact, he talked about working at a local bar here when he was in school, before he became who he is. Just hit that place yesterday, right? Great place. He's Vegas through and through. I know he's a California guy, but he is UNLV. So we're watching him for the first 20 minutes. He's just sitting there. And he's got on like some kind of, seemed like a leather bag. I'm like, expensive. Probably more than making a year, right? Now keep in mind, Guy Fieri just signed a deal for 3 years and $80 million.
It's a pretty life.
And he's looking at Tyler Linderbaum and he's like, yeah, brother, let's go hang out. Make this right. What's 3? Yeah, 380.
Yeah. Makes $1 extra million.
Yeah, he's 26-7 a year, and guys at 7, Linderbaum now. Raiders at 27. So I look over, he's just not. So we had a little birdie go talk to him, and guy told someone, he's like, listen, he's like, my son's a manager for the San Diego State basketball team, which I knew. Ryder, his other son Hunter, UNLV, but Ryder's manager for San Diego State. Well, who got him the tickets?
Yeah,
they're Aztec tickets. Told someone, I was like, go over and give him a UNLV shirt. Make him throw it away. Now, we didn't want to put him in a bad position, but I took a picture of him. I sent a tweet out, and I think some people misunderstood the tweet. Like, I wasn't getting on him. I actually explained he's in no man's land. He can't do anything. But I know deep down he was cheering for UNLV.
Yeah.
It was me.
I'm sure it was.
Here's the other great thing that happened in the game.
Okay.
The more I'm around Josh Pastner, he's a good coach. They've made good adjustments. He's an interesting motivator. But he's a showman. And let me tell you, at shoot around, he found out that the S team would be broadcasting the game of Brian and Pete Gillen.
Oh.
And he loves Pete, and Pete loves him. Josh is a little wacky too.
Oh,
Josh
yeah.
is wacky. Josh Pastner's a wacky guy. And they're sitting right in front of him. So, radio team in the second row. Oh, Lordy! We could have explosions about that later in the week, about seating at conference tournaments and games. But Gillen and Dave Ryan, CBS team, is right in front of us, and they're right next to the UNLV bench. That's usually where games where Terry and Matt Nevert are sitting. Home games, it's actually a select group of fans and then some staffers who are working the scoreboard. Well, Josh Pastner, I'll usually sometimes I'll sit around there on the road home. Sometimes I'll sit right there. Josh Pastner, the entire game, puts on a show going up and down. He's running up sidelines. And when bad plays happen, those tables were padded, and he's like, "Dang it!"
Yeah.
Because he won't curse. Dang it! And he slapped it, dude. I swear, a minute in, he freaking slapped it in front of Gillen. His cards are flying everywhere. And there's no doubt in my mind, he was waiting for a moment to get really worked up and get all dramatic. And so he slapped, because Pete, a lot of times he has like his eyes closed. He's kind of, I don't know, he like resets. Yeah, he's like 76 years old.
Yeah, I was going to ask. He's got to be old at this point.
Yeah. But the rest of the game, he's putting on the show. He's running up and down the sidelines, just like he did at Utah State, just like he did at every road. But I think for this game, he amped it up. It finally hit me that there's a method to the madness here. Everyone thinks he's like an undisciplined, lunatic. He's doing it, one, because he wants to bring constant energy to his basketball team. Two, and it's a shame the disloyal five have ruined this. There are two coaches in this league who donate referee official competitions when you play them. Do you know who they are?
Well, it's Leon Rice.
Bingo. And the other one?
It's got to be Dutch, right?
Dutch. Yeah. And finally hit me. I'm like, he is completely taking away the hours by sucking all the attention, or most of it, from the officials. They have to talk to him like every minute. Josh, get back. Because, right over the years, they're gesturing and mowing their hands up. And by the way, their players, the same thing. You see with every unit of the Broncos and the Aztecs, their players mirror the. Like, I didn't know a whole lot about who prepped here in terms of the way he behaves on the floor. I noticed that the game here in Vegas, Farrell Compton was like king of throwing his hands up. I got fouled. He's bumping me. I'm like, that's straight from the head coach. So the great thing was, after the game, I checked social media, and San Diego State fans were like beside themselves. They're like, he should have had 10 technicals. His behavior was out of control. It was the sixth to defend this. And I look at him, I'm like, you dumbasses. He is sucking the power from your coach. And let me tell you, Mike Reed is an official in this league, and I think he'll be here working this tournament. Mike Reed toggled between yelling at Pastner and telling back, and then laughing off. He loved it. Ready? Take the Mike Reed string. You're Josh Pastner. He had the lead official wrapped around his friggin' finger. I'm like, this is brilliant. And there were times I saw Dutcher look down. He's like, what the frick is going on here? Like, this is my time. But you don't want to be a kind of a pansy as a coach and be like, go tee him up. He's out of the books. Like, you just coach your team. Yeah. So Pastner just takes away their superpower. But I don't know if people know that. I did notice that people put out video of Pastner running up and down the floor. And at one point he was doing like, I've seen this. The St. Joe's Hawk, the stop, right? Pastner had this, like, they had some defense they were putting in and flat his arms. But I swear to God, he went up in the corner and he's just like, like running down the sideline, waving his arms. Like, what is happening here? And the fans hated him. I told him on his coaches, like, before the conference season started, senior act. Fans in this league are going to hate so much. And he's like, I don't care.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's the tier in Vegas have never liked Rice, so that's
it's good, man. Because that is game inside the game, is playing the officials, and there are a couple of calls at some point in the game that turn out to be makeup calls because you complain and want. But Pastner like dominates so much of their time, they can't get it from. And I do think his energy does help Rebels in terms of he does a lot of things that are unconventional. He leads 2 fouls in the first half. I've never seen a have players go to the locker room with 3 as many times I've with him. And the other one is go on runs and people hate it but I'll tell you right now, I hate the other way to do it. Teams go on runs and coaches are like timeout. Like every fast run. It's like they play through it. He had a couple where it was like, long runs, but he's not a fan of calling outs. I think he likes to save his timeouts for the end, kind of a double timeouts. Yeah. Where he'll call a timeout, whatever, the 12:38 mark, and then the TV timeout is at 12, so his team gets longer rest. So I just thought the game inside the game was interesting, and they should have won. There's nothing wrong with UNLV. Get it done. Get it done.
Well, it also will, again, this whole, that type of effort, even with the loss,
Yep.
at least puts you in a position where this week, where again, I don't think this team is good enough to win as many games as they need to win the trophy.
It's hard.
It just
four games,
in 4 days, even with being in your home arena, it also hurts that they're playing a team that absolutely mauled them. They only met this year.
It's crazy.
I mean, Wyoming destroyed them in Laramie.
It was one of the worst games they were on the wrong side. They've had a lot of years, UNLV basketball. But it was just so jarring and crushing and one-sided and 3-point makes and small ball. And then they got gassed because it was So
but the game's here.
Yep.
So you got that is a coin flip game. But I said this, Schofield, if UNLV does win on Wednesday, I think they can take Utah State out a third time. I think they can take them out again. I think
times in one season.
There is something about horrible matchups.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, this UNLV team matches up so well with Utah State. Now, look, Jones was amazing. Jones is the key player in this whole operation for those Utah State games. If he can do it again for a third time against Utah State, I think UNLV can pull that off. Now, look, kind of funky where I would not be shocked if UNLV loses to Wyoming. I would not be shocked if UNLV's in the final of this tournament. That's the one thing about how even these teams are, where, look, if UNLV somehow, well, let's say they beat Wyoming, they spring the upset again, Utah State, it's a rematch with the Wolfpack, or it's Grand Canyon for the third time. And they beat them both here at Thomas and Mack. Again, I don't have to warn whoever comes out of the bottom. Even though they had a shot to win the game on Friday, I think San Diego State would beat them a third time. And I think Mexico would likely beat them, especially since New Mexico need the game. They both would need the game, but New Mexico's all the same spot as UNLV would be. But look, crazy things have happened. Crazy things.
40-1 shot to win the tournament.
I would
UNLV
I'd like a
little
more. Like a little more. I'd like about 75-1. 75-1, I'd be all. I would take a small. I will say this, though. I ask you this, and I'm sure this is a discussion of Rebel fans absolutely eyes, but the Wolfpack, even though they have to play an extra game, actually is a walkover at this point. Let's be real. I think if you're someone who has like thinking about betting this tournament, I don't mind Nevada in this tournament. Like, I don't mind that because I know they won in miraculous fashion against Grand Canyon the first time, but I like Nevada's guard play. And when you have good guard play at this time of the year, you can win a bunch of games that you may not normally be able to. Between I know Price isn't a guard, but can play. And Kemper is an amazing perimeter player. I think you gotta look at them as the other dark horse in this tournament.
Wow.
I think the two Nevada teams are the two true dark horses. But like I said earlier in the show, I already have a bet on Mexico. That's bigger than expected on them. I saw 7. I took it. All said and done, Bullion is such a difficult matchup, and I think Eric Olin, especially in the new Mountain West that's coming forward, if he stays at New Mexico, he's the guy that everyone's going to be looking up as the best coach in this league. So,
and I'm terrible on. I was like older. It's heck.
Yeah.
In football.
Yeah.
Their coach goes to Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Eric Morris leaves, goes to Oklahoma State.
Brings Drew Methamaker, quarterback, arguably the best friend.
Was.
I this random up.
Go ahead.
As I'm traveling back from San Diego. Like, okay, regular season's in the books with UNLV. Josh Pastner had a season. You know, I'll give it a B. They finished 16 and 15, 11 and 9 in conference, but they were beat up early. They got better, went along, and they have players on their team, which this is one of the hallmarks. Players got better. 4 or 5 players got better. I thought to myself, man, next year be looking at a situation where Pastner gets a job somewhere else the following after next year. But then I kind of raced to, I wonder if someone was hyper aggressive and said, I always like that guy. I'm going to grab him now from UNLV before everyone else gets in the bidding. You know what I'm going to talk to him about? Hey, Josh. Trey Gibbs Lawhorn, Tyron Jones. I like him. Can you bring? That was a deep breath on your part. You got turned on.
I'm just trying.
he's
I was just trying to
like, whoa, that was a lot.
I'm trying to think of what jobs will be open. Makes sense for that because it's already open.
I don't want this to come true.
I don't think I
It's a long shot.
yeah, I just
But I do think he's a good coach. I think he had some really good moments this year.
Who it looks like Hurley's going to be gone after.
Wow.
After, by the way,
Hurley. Hold on.
Bobby Hurley was there 11 years, by the way, which is kind of crazy.
I got to take a deep breath.
Oh, there you go.
Arizona State for Josh Pastner, Arizona guy.
Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense because the other ACC jobs that are available, one of them is Georgia Tech, who let Pastner go, however many years ago that was now. I don't see Pastner. I don't see anyone in the SEC. Anyone in the SEC going to be open this year? I don't think so. So, I mean, Arizona State only one that makes any sense whatsoever. Kansas State going in that direction. So that would be the only one I'd be worried about. Okay. But I would be I would be surprised if Pastner garners enough interest from the outside at this point. Still, especially since they're only going to. If UNLV loses the game, they loses to Wyoming. They end up 500.
My whole existence is about prepping myself for the unknown. I don't want to have to get worked up. Okay, and Josh Pastner I'm going past tense. Was a fun guy to cover.
Oh boy.
But, down the road, I don't want to have to put up an instant reaction video and go, hey, buddy, sad to see you go. We had some great times together. I don't want to do that. So I'm always trying to think ahead. I'm always trying to put myself. Raiders fans and some Raiders media was not ready for Max Crosby to go bye-bye. I don't know what they were watching the last 3 months. As I said in the first hour, and I've said it for weeks, the door was closed a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And when Max flipped out and was insubordinate back in December, that pretty much closed the door 98%. You want to be here? Well, then we can't have a guy who doesn't want here. And then we found out over the weekend, a good Vic Hafer story. Vic told the story that Max and MD, Mark Davis, had a sit-down about 2 months ago. And it was established at that sit-down, it's pretty much done. And yet I watched on Friday night over the weekend. Oh, man, I can't believe it on. Last week. Fake news! Not going to happen! This is why, if you're going to follow teams, and more importantly, if you're going to cover teams, Jeff, you got to stay clear of getting all emotional and getting tied to players. I don't care what of work, you host one conversation with them. You can't do it. You can't do it because then it probably hurts your coverage objective because you can't see through the blinders that this is done. And it was done. And he goes to the Ravens. And what a freaking haul. The 14th pick and a pick next year is tremendous. We'll go with the more positive angle on this, that essentially this turned out a freaking trade. Yeah. It's Max Crosby for their center, about the same salary swap. So they got a center and they got the 14th pick, a first round pick next year. You take emotion out of it. Mr. Raider, he didn't want to be here anymore. He said it. And he never came. By the way, never after Jay Glazer said it, and he instructed Jay Glazer to go out and say it, Max never said he wanted to stay.
No.
Talked about was hard work and keeping his nose down and not getting involved in stuff like that. So he wanted to go. They gave him what he wanted, and the Raiders got what they wanted. And by the way, Raiders should get extra credit. Now, I think they took the best deal on the table, but the Raiders should get a lot of credit. And this is the way you do things. You know, they didn't send him to some 5-win franchise. He wants to be happy. Send him somewhere he can be happy. They deserve credit for that.
Well,
They
maybe
can tuck it to him.
maybe he could be happy there.
What are you trying to say?
Maybe.
I think that's a great point. I know what you're saying. We're not going to say it right now. But we can't point back, mark the state down. Remember what Jeff said on the Monday after Max Crosby was in like week 8 next year? Max is posting something on social media where there's an issue with the Ravens.
Yeah, I think I'm not as convinced Ball's as good as everyone claims they are. That's the other thing where this has been something with the gambling with the gambling Twitter people, where Baltimore will always power rated number 1 or number 2, despite the fact that they were 3 and 4 or 1-5 or whatever they were. But you have a first time head coach. I think Jesse Minter is going to be good. We don't know if Jesse Minter is going to be good though. Maybe Lamar Jackson is still not happy there. We don't know. That's the thing. Like, in theory, it should be a win for everyone. Baltimore gets the elite pass. They haven't had a true elite pass rusher in a decade, give or take, and elite pass rusher. And the Raiders get 2 number 1s in the 14th pick, with one of them being the 14th pick in this draft. It would not shock me if that pick is only 4 or 5 picks later next year. Or it wouldn't shock me if Baltimore gets their act together and they pick into. So we'll see. But again, I think it's a beyond a huge win when this is all said and done, and we're able to do that deal the way they did.
Former UNLV hearing is on the way back. One of the guys the Raiders signed down from another tentpole franchise in the football league and said he went with his gut feeling, and that's why he signed with the Raiders. That's good news.
Got something to say? Hit us up on Bay Law text line 702-364-1100. Brought to you by Bay Law Injury Attorneys. Winning is no accident.
Open a Clark County Credit Union high-yield bonus checking account and earn one of the highest rates available for using your checking account. Bonus checking offers designed, unrivaled security, and smart savings. There are so many benefits to BCCU. Isn't it about time you became a member? Open a bonus checking account today and start earning more. Because if somebody money off your account, shouldn't it be insured by American Share Insurance?
The Tough Edelman Bull Riding Tour is back and better than ever. Powered by Boot Barn and Discount Tire, get ready for a one-of-a-kind bull riding experience. Make plans now for the South Point Arena March 14th. Tickets are already on sale. Find out what happens when the world's top bull riders collide with the rankest bulls on the planet. The Tough Edelman Bull Riding Tour is proudly sponsored by Pendleton Whiskey. This isn't just any old tour. This is Tough's Tour. Tickets on sale now at southpointarena.com or by phone at 702-77-8055.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I'm Attorney General. Not enough. Don't let the insurance company hit you again with a lowball offer. Call an experienced attorney who knows how to fight and win. Call Lerner and Rowe today. 877-1500.
Ready to go. Call 877-1500. 877-1500.
Randy Westbrook, managing attorney.
You're listening to Meditating with Jam Toyota. Visualize yourself off-roading in a Tacoma. Now engage your senses. What do you hear? A donkey. You're driving the Farm Sanctuary in a Grand Hire. Go from dreaming it today.
Delivery may bear partisan for details. And begins March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
Visit your Southern Nevada Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go.
Brake light on? Tires wearing down? Meineke certified techs fix brakes, tires, AC, alignments, engine repairs, and oil changes. Every visit includes a free digital inspection with photos and videos so you know exactly what your car needs. And right now, get a synthetic blend oil change starting at only $34.95 at all locally owned and operated Meineke centers. Find your nearest location at Meineke.com. Trust your key with Meineke, doing car care right.
Back for a limited time, Zippy's breaded tofu with Korean sauce plate and breaded tofu burger with Korean sauce. It's totally tofu and totally delicious. The plate is served with rice and macaroni salad. And if you want a burger style, they got that too. Available daily for a limited time. It's a satisfying, crispy tofu favorite. Zippy's, celebrating 60 years of serving Hawaii's comfort foods. Now, 4 locations: Arroyo Crossing, Hualapai Way, Southeastern and Henderson, and now at Summerlin.
See your Vegas Golden Knights on Wednesday, April 15th against the Seattle Kraken in the Party Deck, presented by Sire Spirits. The Party Deck is where all the off-the-ice excitement happens, from the Knights Castle to the Night Lane. Ticket Party Deck are standing room only. Tickets start at just $9. Go to VGKTicketExchange.com for all info. That's VGKTicketExchange.com. Sponsored by our credit union.
I think every quarterback would appreciate having a center of that caliber, and it really depends on what your offensive system asks of the center. And it's kind of a cycle, kind of going back and forth with each other. Is you only ask a lot of your center in a system if you know your center is capable. And I think the Raiders have a capable center now, so we'll see how much they ask the center to help out with protections and run game calls and stuff like that at the line of scrimmage, especially in light of the Raiders anticipating having a rookie starting quarterback next season.
That's kind of interesting in terms of a take on the extra money. With a rookie quarterback, is the center more needed to, you were just going there, more needed to make calls at the line? I kind of go back to a couple of years ago with UNLV when they were making the transition from a veteran quarterback to a younger guy. And I can't remember if it was Jack Haas or Lee Fentano, where they talked about the fact that, for these 2 or 3 games, I do have to be more vocal. I do have to make more of the calls at the line. So maybe that's why Linderbaum got the even bigger money, because they're like, we want to make sure that Mendoza's in a comfy position.
Yeah, I think, the language of the NFL game is a lot different, and every rookie quarterback is going to struggle with that. And at some point, we'll accept that that's going to be the case. There might be a dip off in production for these rookies as they transition. That's the standard. It's the norm. The exceptions are the guys who come in year one and shine and thrive right away. So even for a guy who's as accomplished, a Heisman Trophy winner, as the Raiders are likely going to draft, I think he's going to have some difficulty with the language of the offense and just how the mechanics of an NFL huddle work. So having a guy at center who's actually responsible for some of that vocalization is going to be huge. I think it's an underrated piece of team building to have a good center and quarterback relationship. I think I've mentioned in the past too that you rely on your center for a lot when you're a quarterback. There's things you don't see. Things that they just help with, even if you know the answer already, just the time that they can save you by getting it done before you even have to think about it. Take something off your plate as a quarterback. And there's sort of an intrinsic value to that you really can't put a dollar amount on. You just really have to see how it works out on the field.
Okay, let's talk about free agency around the NFL and get some reaction before we get to a little more on Max Crosby and also the UNLV football schedule coming out now with the non-con and the Mountain West games included. Caleb Herring is with us on ESPN Las Vegas. Tua is going to be on the move. So Miami's going to take a big hit here, although Miami responded by going and getting a quarterback in Malik Willis. But first on Tua, the cap hit, and then, hey, he's going to go back to QB school here, and I think it's a pretty good spot with the Falcons and Stefanski.
I think it is a good spot. I think there's obviously some potential there for extending that out if they have a good year together. Tua goes out and it pans out for the Falcons the way that maybe they think it will, how eager they were to go sign him after the Dolphins let him go. It's interesting because Penix was kind of a project, and we knew this going in when he got drafted. His injury-prone nature, obviously that draft class had a lot of quarterbacks with potential, but he seems to be the one who's bringing up the rear, so to speak, and it's mostly because of his injuries, and he hasn't really been 100% his whole career. So I think that might be a good fit. I think they've got talent, obviously, in Atlanta, especially offensively, that maybe they wasted while trying to figure out the quarterback situation. And it was a mess, like bringing in Cousins and Penix and all these things that happened in the same year. It made for a messy situation. I think this move creates some clarity. I think it shows, one, that they don't truly trust Penix yet, whether it's for his health or for his ability. But it also says, hey, we're giving Tua a chance to maybe be our next guy. And in short order, after having a crowded and kind of unnecessarily wasteful quarterback room, wasting a high draft pick and then paying Cousins $100 million in the same season, it goes to a very clear, focused Tua is our guy. And that's probably the hope for the Falcons with this next season, to figure that out, if Tua can be their guy in their system. Two left-handed quarterbacks. I got to see if there's ever been a time in history where there's two left-handed quarterbacks on the same roster. I don't believe so, but I could be wrong about that. It just seemed that was one of the things that popped out to me. It's a very unique situation for the Falcons to have two left-handed quarterbacks on the roster.
Well, Caleb, just to follow up on that, because that was the first thing that popped in my mind too. Roster building is obviously now your blind side is the right tackle, but there's no changing your offense at all, regardless of which quarterback you end up going with here.
Yeah, and I think a lot has been made in recent months about the ability, especially with what happened in the Super Bowl, to just move linemen across the line. Oh, he sucked at guard. Let's move him to tackle. And the right tackle is not good for him. He can go left. It's not that simple. Like doing things like that on the offensive line are not simple things to do. And like you said, roster building, you have to keep that in mind. If indeed you're going to have a left-handed quarterback, and you're going to make him your franchise guy, you have to keep in mind that your right tackle has to be a quality tackle. You can't, cut corners with your right tackle and put all your money into your left tackle, because it's just split. Everything's split. Receivers on the field, you have to understand the spin of the ball is different. Where you look for the quarterback to release and his release point is different. Especially with Tua, he has not only is he left-handed, but he has kind of an obscure release. So there's going to be some adjustments all over the place for the left-handedness of the Falcons quarterback room. So small detail, but yeah, I think it turns out to be important when we talk about building a roster with chemistry and sustainability.
One of the big ones today, and it kind of caught me off guard, because I always just assumed that Mike Evans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were just going to figure out a way to stay together forever, and not the case. He goes to San Francisco. I know Caleb, I know he missed a lot of time last year with injury. When he's on the field, he can still play at a high level. I love this for the Niners.
I love it for the Niners as well. I think he's got a Hall of Fame career behind him. Mike Evans with the Super Bowl ring when Tom Brady came over. He's had 1,000. I think the only person who's had more 1,000-yard seasons as a receiver was Jerry Rice. And that's actually who I would compare his career to. And that's why I probably thought he would be Tampa Bay Bucs for life too. It seems like the same thing with Jerry Rice. Like, he was a Niner. He's a Niner. And, at the end, Jerry Rice went other places, but he was 50 when that happened. So nobody really remembers those days. But Mike Evans kind of mirrors a receiver like a Jerry Rice, who's just constantly a threat, constantly viable, constantly available. And he makes some of the toughest catches we've seen as a downfield threat. So I do think that the Niners will get value out of him. I'd be interested to understand. I don't understand why the Buccaneers decided to part ways with him. They were in contention most of the year, even with him injured. I don't know if the price tag was just too high for a guy of his caliber to bring back, the risk of his injury at his age. But the Niners definitely came up with that move, and they were in need of weapons offensively, to say the least, with McCaffrey being injured most of last year as well, and Kittle being injured late. They needed an offensive weapon to help out. And I think they got one with Evans, especially as just a possession receiver at this point in his career.
Caleb Herring is with us. Back to the Raiders. Are you sad that Max Crosby is gone? He was Mr. Raider, and did the 2 first-round picks make you feel happier?
The 2 first-round picks was a hefty return. I do think I wasn't expecting that much, especially from a team like the Ravens. I wasn't expecting to get that much from him, but I knew it was time. Like you said, he was Mr. Raider. He was going to die a Raider a couple years ago, and he fit the bill. He looked like a guy that really wanted to be a Raider. But once he announced that he wanted to get out of there, demanded a trade, insubordination, not showing up, all those kinds of things, I think you're at a point with new management especially that's not going to be tolerated. Loyalty, I think, is important to Raider Nation, and those kind of antics don't really go well. And I think he learned that, and I think he really understood that, to be honest. I'm not pitying him or feeling sorry for him that he's gone, because he may have wanted to be a Raider for life, but he did the things that get you bounced out of any organization. And I think it was with some intent. So he's moved on. The Raiders, I think, won the trade. Obviously, they got what they needed out of that, because the Raiders need to build a roster. And I personally think Max Crosby was a little bit overrated, maybe not overrated, but overhyped in terms of what he brought to a defense. While he's no Micah Parsons, he's no Myles Garrett, I do think because he was on such a bad team, he got a little bit more spotlight than he should have. And that made his name a little bit more of a NFL regular name, I guess, in the talks. So, but I do think the Raiders got the best part of the deal on those 2 picks, and hopefully they'll be able to make something out of them with players in these first rounds in the next couple of years.
Let's talk a little UNLV football. Yes, in March. If you're not here for the hunt, don't come for the feast. Jump on board now. Let's see what happens this year. The schedule is out. By the way, I just saw a guy wearing a T-shirt. I was like, let me put that in the show. I saw one of the TVs had that T-shirt. I don't say that. UNLV football schedule is out. That's how easily I can be convinced. Just put anything in front of me. I'll drop an F-bomb in the air. All right, Memphis at home to start the year. Now we find out Mountain West Conference, September 5th, week 2 at Hawaii. Well, I think one of the co-favorites, along with New Mexico, if we say there's 3 favorites in the league, at Hawaii in week 2. Week after that, at North Texas. Hello.
A little bit of a gauntlet to start the year off, right? Memphis obviously has been a solid Group of 5 team for the past, decade, really, and building that program up to what it is now. Obviously, that's going to be a tough one to start. It's good that it's at home. There's going to be a lot of change with all of these rosters. So going off of last year isn't really an indicator of what this year will be. But 29-11 combined between those 3 teams last year. So a winning record for sure. Hawaii, who came on kind of late in the season, really finished strong. But they're a contender for sure. And they've got a lot of guys coming back. A key piece, their quarterback coming back, and he's very committed to Hawaii and bringing some players back to the island through the transfer portal as well. So a tough 3-game stretch to start the season off. And the earliest, I think, that UNLV has started a conference opponent in September, Hawaii being a conference opponent. I think that's the earliest or close to the earliest. It's got to be close to a conference game being on the schedule for UNLV. So that'll be interesting to kind of get a conference game under the belt early on. UNLV with 2 byes again this year kind of breaks the season up into thirds. The bye coming right after that game number 3. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a test. UNLV will know exactly where they are and how close they are to being who they want to be right off the bat in the season. So I like it though. I like it. It's kind of it's an aggressive slate, but it's a slate that says, hey, we really think we got a shot. We're not just scheduling Ohio State anymore. We're not just scheduling those big guys that we're expected to lose to. We're hiring guys that are competitive across this country and trying to make a statement and touch the regions that get the news and get the highlights and get the conversation started about UNLV being a legit threat out west.
Caleb, we appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Let's give away some tickets here. Ron White, comedian, Chelsea on the 13th, coming up right around the corner. 364-1100, 364-1100. Caller number 7, Ticketmaster.com is where you get the tickets. Pair of tickets to see Ron White at the Cosmopolitan in the Chelsea.
This is JT the Brick for Finley Volvo Las Vegas. How about a 39-month lease for only $639 for the 2026 Volvo XC60 SUV?